Dan, you were making that point, and in terms of how the property owners maybe could have somehow helped, been able to express that a little bit easier. And I don't know if that were to be done, if that would change your mind. And we are, here we are, up to an hour now. We've hit the hour on this.
Okay.
And, if anybody, I respect whichever way you all want to go. If you want to try to make a vote, fine. If the property owners think that they could wait another month, but would we really gain a lot of information? Would it make a difference enough? I don't know.
I don't think we'd gain, or at least me personally, I don't think it would gain any information. I don't think I particularly need much more information. It would be more potentially the chance to discuss amongst council, like what does this precedent, set, or is there a way to read it?
It's not a precedent.
It's not a precedent.
It's not literally a precedent saying that all of them are granted, but it opens that up.
Okay, well, I'm kind of seeing a definite no, I'm seeing a definite yes, and then I think we kind of have
Probably no.
three people on the fence,
Fence, sitting a little
unless
bit.
Jane has got a different, so if do you know where you're gonna vote? If we were to vote right now, Stephen,
If it was right now, I'd vote no.
it would be no,
Yeah.
okay. And
It
so
would pay me,
Jane,
but it would be no.
where would it? I'm not trying to, either we're gonna push it off.
Right, I know. I'd be happy to push it off if we can be efficient about it next month and come up with information that will make this a decisive vote next month and not another hour discussion next month. Dan and Steve, I know that,
Or Phil.
well,
Okay.
I know Phil is a yes
Okay,
and
yeah.
Hans is a no, so I was
Yeah.
looking at my fellow
I'm
fence sitters.
good with that.
Okay, there's a
If
question
everybody
from the
else is-
floor.
I
Dennis?
think if it's appropriate, just in terms of moving things along, if there's enough people that are like 30 days to discuss it however they want to discuss it, and come back, it would seem to me there wouldn't need to be any presentation.
Yeah,
Except
yeah.
if the homeowners have something new to say it, but by that time, people can talk to the neighbors, look at the house, go stand on the street and look at the house, if that's what you need to do, and do it.
All right, thank you. Okay. Did I see another hand back there? Okay.
Or a straw.
All right, so we'll agree to postpone, is that what I didn't hear
Yeah,
where
that's
we
fine.
were.
I'm fine with
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
I do invite you to submit more detailed written submissions, and I'm sure in the town office there are past examples of variance applications that have been either granted or denied. And I do think that it's important to give us in writing ahead of time more information that we can consider, especially about the subject of hardship part. So that would be very helpful.
So can you work with somebody to have specific questions for us to answer, or should?
Again, I would refer you to some of, we've had, well, at least 3 that I can think of in the past several years, variance applications, and I'm sure those are on file. Maybe Andrea could,
You're either in the
Or
archives
Elizabeth,
or
yeah.
in the office.
and Elizabeth was definitely here for all of those, so maybe you would know where they are. I'm
And our
thinking-
first time, we were turned down.
Thinking the Perrys, I'm thinking the Kellers, and what's the house up on Waverly?
On Waverly?
Is it?
Did this one too.
Or, no,
Yeah, you
Montrose,
should
going
count
up
this.
the hill. Montrose going up the hill, Waverly, Montrose.
Oh, no, Beaver,
This, yeah.
Beaverman or something?
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah.
We've got,
Oh, the screen.
we've got
Yeah.
some copies that the homeowners can go look through with in the office. We'll give you some assistance.
Yeah.
I saw Dan, Councilman Dan shaking his head. He might be able to give you some feedback. So,
And next door, they wrote a very detailed application for the
a very
variance.
large house. All right, great. All right, this was a really helpful discussion, very informative. Sorry we couldn't make that decision for you tonight, but thank you for giving us a month to get back on this, okay?
Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Okay. All right, so, gosh, okay, kind of want to fill us in, Andrea.
The information that was in the fire
March 27th, is the candidate nomination meeting, 7:30 here at Town Hall. I believe there's a reception beforehand.
Yes.
That's hosted by the Citizens Association. April 24th is the Candidates Forum. That will also be hosted by the Citizens Association.
7:30.
7:30.
March
And then May 6th, of course, is
27th.
election day. Polls are open 7 to
Should
7.
we put our signs together?
and-
Seven,
Sure.
7:30.
Sorry,
Signs up?
7:30.
Well,
and
you and I
post
could
office
do a
lobby
combined
at
sign.
10. That's all. Okay, thank you. Stephen, you've got a couple items on here. You wanna speak to both of them tonight? Do you wanna?
I'll speak to them. I'll just keep it brief. So I'm going to use my cheat sheet on the first one because I got some information from Nancy Walls. She's worked very hard on this. The house tour of the Richterville homes are mostly over in the southeast portion of town. So that is set up to be May 4th, 12 to 4 p.m. And there's going to be tickets available. These tickets, I think there's a little bit of debate on the price, but I think it's probably going to be $20, and it's a purposeful thing. That you can't just have a free-for-all and everybody and their brother would show up to come look at houses and drink wine, all that kind of thing. 'Cause there's going to be a reception at the end of it. So Nancy's done a heroic effort, like trying to put this together. She's looked back through the history of all the previous house tours that have been done over the decades around here, looking at all the best practices for that and really putting together a great program. So really looking forward to it, and hopefully a lot of other people around town are,
Is that on
and
the
we'll join.
calendar? The town calendar?
I think it is, right? You've already put it on, right? May 4th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's collecting the donation?
I'm trying to remember. I think it's collected, some tickets are going to be sold in advance at Town Hall, and I don't know if those dates have been set yet. And then other ones are going to be available. You can reserve them and go pick them up, but there's going to be like a first house on the tour, and there'll be a representative there that can do it, yeah.
Okay.
And the idea is that this is, Historic Preservation Committee, for whatever reason, has just not had a budget. I've been on it for like 8 years. It hasn't had a budget. I don't know why. All these other committees have them. But so they really kept with that volunteer spirit. So it was all just assumed that we'd have no budget. It's all rural volunteers. They did it with the idea that they would have this tickets to really legitimize all the people that are showing interest in going, but then take all that money and pool it and donate it. And I think it's being determined where they feel like it would be best donated around town. So that's basically it for that.
We could discuss that budget option. in
Yeah,
a couple
that's what
different
I
ways.
mentioned. Yeah,
Okay, not
mentioned.
just having a budget, but also considering whether you want to that becomes like a donation to the historic preservation, much like we do for archives
Mhm.
and arboretum.
Yeah.
Think about it, yeah.
And then as far as the Historic Preservation Tax Credit Open House, I didn't get a chance to go to that. I was busy with work, but been looking into that a little bit, both before that and after that. And I'm going to look into it further, but I'm not sure that it really applies for much of anything in Garrett Park, because it's meant for houses that are not a primary residence, which is almost every house in this town is a primary residence, and it doesn't apply since it's a tax credit. If you have a building like this one that's owned by the town, doesn't have a tax bill, then there's nothing really to credit, which I've run into that before. I've done most of the historic preservation work I've done over my career has been on military and other government organizations. They can never do a tax credit project because they don't make a profit. They don't pay the taxes. But more to come. I'll look further into it, see if there's any other backdoor into it, that there might be a way that people in town could get credits to do historic work on their house. That's it.
Great. Any questions on that? All right, moving ahead. Thank you, Stephen. Okay, SRTS, my update for you all. So we have approval to advertise for the SRTS project. We've worked out the schedule with the state highway, and we are going to be advertising on March 18th. We are going to have a pre-bid meeting with prospective bidders on March 28th in the town office. And we will have bids due, which at the same time happens to be also when you also open your sealed bids, on April 11th. So that is how we're going right now,
Right on.
okay? In addition to the construction bid for advertising, we are also beholding to the state to advertise for a town inspection, oversight inspector. And that's part of their funding, they're reimbursing us for. But this is also happening later this month, in March, and I don't remember exactly when we're gonna put the bid out. But the opening of the bids may also be happening around April 11th. I'm kind of trying to get that date moved by a day, because otherwise it's a lot of congestion in the office with bid packets being handed in at the last minute by prospective, by bidders. So it's all coming to a head very quickly.
Wow.
That's all I have.
A question on it, though. So two questions. So the oversight inspection, that goes out simultaneous with the
No, they're independent.
independent? And then is there more than one oversight inspector? Because we were told here that the town maintenance person could do that.
So
Or is there a
we talked
second
with
one?
the state about that. There are certain certifications that are needed for certain functions within this oversight service. It's still possible that George would be able to perform some of this time. George Miller, who's on our maintenance.
Not you.
So, and there is some leeway written within the RFP that allows for that. So, and the state had also agreed that they would reimburse us even for some of that time, that our own George Miller would.
So that'll probably be important for us only because that was a part of that, we, on the basis of adding that salary, some of the offset, the justification to try to yield some leverage there.
The decision was made with the information we had at the time, and then as we've had subsequent calls with the state, we learned more. So now we have this information.
So you're still digging to get clarity on what he may qualify to do to create some savings?
Yeah, there were certain functions, and the one that comes to mind was one that George was talking about. He's very, very familiar with it. He's been through it many times. He's a contractor, but there's a specific certification that's needed that he doesn't have, and it has time. I don't want to speak, but yeah, like making sure the concrete is the right. Yeah.
Quality material.
So there may be some things that, as a part of that, there may be somebody that's certified that has to do a certain part of that, but he may be able to do part of that. And we'll be able to really understand more of that during this process with the bids for the inspector.
Okay.
And the state has to also review the RFP before we put it out, so we can get further clarification there.
So when the bids are coming in on April 11th, that's when the opening is, and it basically is like, it's going to the lowest,
Most responsive,
most
responsible.
responsible.
But Jane, just so you know, they
So
don't,
that's the date we'll know then. If-
we won't know who's the most responsive bidder until our contract town engineers.
Okay, okay, that's what I wanted, okay, that's
We'll
what I
get a
wanted
sense
to
of the
understand.
range, but the range may be wrong or
Okay.
off, as you'll hear from Hans later about the street repaving.
Okay. All right,
Right?
and how long do we think that'll take Clark Azar to make
I
that?
think they said
Determination.
up to maybe 4 weeks.
Okay. All right, so they have to do a detailed read-through
Yeah,
of
they
all
do.
these to make that, okay.
And they also call
Yeah.
reference, they do reference
Okay,
checks.
okay. All right, I was under the impression that it was basically like a rip and read,
So was I.
that we would rip it and be like, all right, you've
So
got the
was I.
lowest, we're done. But
That's
I'm
what
glad
I-
to hear that there's actually
Yeah.
a review process involved there,
That's
so.
I agree.
yeah.
I asked that, but I wasn't told that in the beginning. Okay. Jane, would you like to update us quickly
It's
on your Arboretum thing?
super short, I apologize for not putting it in poetry form. The iterative process of the committee commenting on better and more detailed drafts of the Arboretum plan is ongoing. You know, among other things, they are working on flowcharts to, you know, help guide future decision-making about trees, whether it's replacement or, you know, emergency procedures to get approval to take down, et cetera. So that is still ongoing, and, you know, there's no sense that it's an issue with the contractor. It's that, you know, the committee has very thoughtful questions and feedback, and the contractor. So it seems like it's going very, very well. The original RFP, we had asked for the contractor to do a presentation to the town. Given where the plan is in process and given everything that's going on in April, that looks right now that we're going to try to push it more towards mid-May, just to have time to get through some of these other things first, and to buff and polish the plan. But everything seems to be going well, and you know, Andrea can certainly speak to the information. It seems it's been on, you know, like because of the inventory, there's been a head start on determining, you know, what the status might be of some of the trees that have come up recently.
Yeah, it's been helpful.
Although, as recent experience has also demonstrated, it's also always important to have our expert eyes, Phil Normandy, take a look at something to, you know, make sure that he verifies what the actual condition of the tree is. So, okay, that was probably too long.
Yeah,
Onward.
That's great, thanks. Stephen, how about anything on the town hall renovation?
Yeah, similar last month. I'm working on planning diagrams to look at different options that could carry forward all the good information we got from the open house session we had here. We got that partway done, but I need to finish that. I need to get with other folks to put together a random or a rough order of magnitude of the cost of those so we can really compare apples to oranges. I think it's going to take some time, and then set up a meeting. I'm thinking it may be more like summer is probably not realistic around here, probably more realistic in the fall. If I can get it moved up to be the spring, I'll try, but I think that's really the next step, is to kind of see what we're really up against, what they all cost, and then see with those concrete examples what town is generally in favor of pursuing, and how we would tackle that cost. So that's the update.
Stephen, so you're talking about the construction cost, or are you talking about the design cost, or both?
Construction cost.
Okay.
I mean, it could be both. I mean, I could put in just, I would factor in a construction cost and other soft, or design cost and other soft costs, but
Okay.
it's really about, you know, is it, how big of a project is it, and
Yeah.
where we're going to do it.
Right. Okay, thank you. Phil, how about the archives?
Well, we're still in a holding pattern, looking for somebody right now. Unfortunately, we did not have a quorum for the last meeting, so they did not move much forward. But we're still working on it.
Quorum for the last archives meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were looking at
You
me
need
for the last
four.
town council
No,
meeting.
no. The last
Clearing
archives
the
meeting,
meeting.
sorry.
Okay.
It was reference to
apologize.
the archives meeting.
Got it.
So, but work is still ongoing, and my understanding is that Ray will be doing some consulting in the interim, so that will keep us from going south.
Are we deliberating, is the committee deliberating on the announcement? I mean, or is it possible that we're able to just go ahead and put out the announcement, or
They
what's the?
the last I knew, they were still developing it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll hope to hear something soon from them. Hans, on the street repaving.
Okay, we've gotten bids in, I believe there's 11 bids, one which got disqualified because they didn't follow the rules process.
Right.
We're waiting for Clark Azar to get us a template for the evaluation of these bids. And when we get those, we'll sit down with them at some point and see where we are.
Okay.
And I think that's pretty much it on that one.
All right.
But if you don't mind, I might as well go to the jump to the.
Could I just,
No, you can.
following this
Oh, whatever.
agenda here, so traffic and parking, Phil?
So with traffic and parking, I've met again with the residents down on Weymouth, trying to get to the bottom of the situation with one resident wishing to park in front of his house, and the other residents thinking that there's not really a problem there. Dan, of course, knows exactly what I'm talking about. And so far, the residents have expressed concern that they don't wish to have a number of signs put up around the area, but they are willing to have a sign put up that would be in front of the particular resident's house that says something to the effect of parking for Garrett Park residents and guests only. Not necessarily saying reserved, not necessarily saying that it would be for that particular person, but you know, it would say that it is for Garrett Park residents only, and it would be a single sign, which might alleviate this person's concern, but at the same time, keep the residents, allow the other residents to stay friendly with Parkside and still, if necessary, allow cars to be parked there. And they've actually, the other residents have gone as far as to ask the Parkside residents not to park in front of the person's house, and if necessary, park over on the other side of the street and in front of the other people's houses, so rather than in front of their houses, so that they're not parking in front of this guy's house, as a way of trying to smooth things over.
Right, and
They're really working to try and do whatever they can to keep it friendly with Parkside, and at the same time, try and accommodate this person, but the guys,
it's a very neighborly thing to do.
yes,
And they don't want to prohibit that
Correct.
parking from the neighbors on the park side, part of Weymouth, because some of
Right.
these same residents that are of Garrett Park at times also park over on the park side. So quid pro quo, they want to keep.
right. And to my knowledge, at least as of yesterday, they only know of 2 people who park on a regular basis on our side of the street, one being a doctor who tries to, who's
emergency
on call,
ER, yeah.
has to go running. And so they've met with all the people as they see them, and so pretty much I think it's under control, but to help smooth things over, if we put up a sign, a low-flying sign in front of this person's house, that may help out.
The one thing I would like to get feedback to the neighbors on Weymouth near the end is, and Andrea, for you also to take note, that when we're probably beyond snow plowing, hopefully, this
We hope.
year now, but when there is times that the town has to plow the roads, and we put out the announcement to try to keep your cars off the streets if possible. I know we have some issues there with Weymouth, but that the neighbors on Parkside also have to adhere to that.
Right, everybody
So that
has
they
to
would
do
keep,
that.
they would get their cars back off of our street so we can have more room on the road to
Right.
plow. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Is it relevant that the resident whose concern is about people parking in front of his house, is it relevant that he has 4 cars and there's not enough room for his 4 cars in front of his house because somebody parks in front of his house? I mean, just asking, that's all I'm saying.
So he has no driveway.
I understand.
And I can't answer that, Elizabeth. I've heard him say 3 cars. I've heard other neighbors say he has 4, so I don't know the real answer there. But we're trying to persuade him, and he seems inclined, if that's right, Phil,
Yes,
to go with a parallel parking pad now. The town does install a 4-foot apron, so we could help him that way, and if he would be willing to put in a parallel, he doesn't want to put in a driveway, it's a steep, I guess,
yeah, it's a steep
slope
hill.
up to the house.
You can't really, we couldn't really do it without doing some serious excavation, but I think there is enough room that you could probably sneak a parking pad in there
Right next to
without
him.
too much.
Yeah.
By a Jeep.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna get back with him on that and see if, he'll really go for that. That might alleviate some of his issues,
That would definitely
frustration.
help it.
Yeah.
I got 15-second semi-related topic while we're on traffic and parking. I thought I had the last snow we had, and you always send out the message from the town that urging people to get as many cars off the street as possible. Just open question to you, Phil. Is it something where the town may want to consider urging people to park at the pool lot, which is not generally used at that time of the year, so the streets are more open, and then that could be plowed out, people could take it out? Just not really looking for an answer, but just a thought to maybe consider.
Yeah, and that's something we'll have to discuss. The only reason I say that is simply from the aspect of the pool lot's not always plowed until later on. I hate to see somebody get stuck in a pool lot, but
Yeah.
as long as they could plow the pool lot, I mean, it certainly would make sense.
Somewhat early. Yeah, they might be able to just go through it one way, but just a thought, it may be
No,
more cons than pros, but.
No, it makes perfect sense. Oh, and totally separate item, but I just have to throw it in there. One of the lights is burned out at the pool parking lot. I keep forgetting to mention that.
I should know. I look at them all the time.
All right.
It's the one behind your house, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks.
Hans, how are we doing with that beacon light, Strathmore and Mills Hill?
Well, nobody's jumping, the state hasn't jumped in and said tomorrow.
I'm sorry, say that again. Say it again.
This has to do with the crossover crossing, which is going to be particularly sensitive for the safety of the children crossing to go to the pool in the summer. And we've been asking since last June or July, August, for the state to consider putting the blinking light on Strathmore, on Knowles Hill, that is activated by the pedestrian when he or she crosses the street. And it would live only on the hill up when that's the case. But it would clearly identify it as, watch it as something happening up the hill, which you can't see, but as soon as you get rise to the top. And we talked to Montgomery County about it, and they seem to be more amenable. They manage the electronic signal for the state highways in the county. And so I've been working with SHA to try to get them to do it. Their first response was to put new signage up on the hill up. I don't think that's going to make a whole lot of difference. And they said it would take them 3 months to evaluate it, and I don't think anybody will. So I've been leaning on the state to get together with Montgomery County and with us involved to really seriously consider putting a flashing light in. That would be very apparent to people coming in hill. But since it would only blink when there was somebody in the crosswalk, people wouldn't get used to it. And so when we met last Thursday with the representative from SHA, two representatives from SHA, they said they would reinitiate the contact with the county to do that assessment, to get their feeling about adding a light. And it's certainly something that we want, and we've expressed strong interest in, because I don't think, short of something very specifically active like that comes on at the moment that it needs to, would be a great safety enhancement for the children crossing the street to go to the pool, or vice versa, coming from the pool.
Or adults,
So-
Hans. I think a lot of drivers don't discriminate based on age. They'll run you over whether you're a child or an adult.
I would be a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, I agree.
with a flashing light on there.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
totally.
At least that we would have done what we can do. So the takeaway was, they're gonna have somebody from the SHA staff come to the site and say, we'll monitor it and see whether we can draw conclusions that would maybe shed light on whether or not the flashing light is indicated. They're gonna set up a meeting with the county to have that same discussion. And then the third item was, they put a sign up that's, 140 feet? from
Yeah,
the
150,
crosswalk.
yeah.
And they put it up in front of Stephen's house.
It's crooked, so you notice it.
On the existing lamppost, which is within 3 feet of the post, they put a new post in front of there, and so we've asked them to take that, because of the clutter that it creates, visual clutter that it creates, take the signage, put it on the lamppost, which matches what was done down the street.
What does it say? Just crosswalk coming up, or?
Yeah.
I think it says caution, crosswalk 140 feet ahead.
Mm.
Yeah.
And this is coming
But it's,
up
Up,
the hill?
Yeah.
uphill.
it's really at the point where
It's too late.
it's almost too late, because by
Right.
that time you can see the crosswalk.
Right, right.
And you can see the flashing yellow light.
Mhm.
So it needs to be
Yeah.
before that. Anyway, so, I'm gonna keep pushing the SHA and see whether we can get something done. Again, we made this strong point that, we're really concerned about making that a safer intersection before the pool opens.
I caused an accident at that intersection by having the audacity to walk across the street with a stroller. There was a car coming up the hill, and the issue is they come up the steep hill, then it kind of levels off, but not enough so that you can see over the cars in front of you, so you really are blocked. So the car that was coming up the hill, northbound, were oblivious. They almost ran into us. I had to literally turn and, whoa, stop. And they finally did stop, but they stopped so abruptly that the car behind them just ran into them.
Has that happened recently?
That was like a year and a half ago, but
Because there was one just
yeah,
last
recently
week.
at Raleigh,
Really?
yeah, I'm not sure what
Oh,
happened,
yeah.
yeah. But it's very common that cars are honking at other ones that they don't realize why that person
Right.
stopped at the top.
Right.
It's every day just about, so.
I think the light would also make that better.
Yeah.
Do you think it's money? I mean, should we consider throwing some, saying,
I think it's $1.
oh,
Because if it's money, I'll call Jeff Wattsweicher and say, make some money available to us.
Yeah. It's a variance from their normal rule. They don't really typically do that, so now they have to make an exception to do it, so.
How's this
But it's-
situation?
yeah.
How's this situation?
An atypical situation.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were renting over off Tuckerman, and they put the big flashing light over the crosswalk on Tuckerman where the bike trail is or whatever. I mean, it's 3 lane or 2 lanes either way and, wide open, and I have still seen people nearly get smashed with the flashing light, and that's wide open and flat, so I absolutely agree that we have to have a flashing light, but they have to understand this is not wide open visibility where you can see, what you're approaching and what's going on. And of
But-
course, people go at the speed of heat because they're always too busy.
in a similar vein though, on that same road, they actually have a red signal ahead light on that corner, so as you come around the turn, you'll know if the signal's red, or at least there are people that
Yeah.
will be stopping in front of you. So, I mean,
They probably had a bunch of rear ends on
yeah,
on
probably.
that one.
Thank you, Hans.
Well, I was just gonna say, there's so much signage on that hill, it's just a blur, and,
And that's why we
being,
need,
right,
we need to say that.
but, I mean, being someone who grew up in this town, and taking the pledge, however many years ago it was, to wear the bracelet saying I'm gonna go more than 20 miles an hour. And then
Elizabeth, can't get the recording of you, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, never mind.
Okay, well, thank you for that input, and thank you, Hans. See what we can do, persevere. Okay, Andrea.
Sure, I'm gonna let Stephen go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but just a curiosity question, it seems like a lot of time is being spent preparing their budget, which I appreciate it, but I was curious, is it, as we prepare for the next, the fiscal year 2020 meeting, is it the intention to generally update and carry forward a similar budget to what's been in place over the last several years, or is it more of a rethought, and are there a lot of changes being envisioned for proposals?
It's not an easy answer to that. There are certain numbers that are easy to quantify based on material that we have, and there are certain numbers that we don't have anything that was readily available that we were able to use to come up with a good, sound methodology for projection. So we've had to talk to the state, the county, local governments. Khaki went to a meeting and talked to the finance directors. Looking back through old contracts that we sometimes don't have the best records on. So I don't have that kind of information. Also reaching out to vendors and seeing if I can get that information from them. So I don't have an easy answer for you on that.
Okay.
But it's taking time to get a good sound methodology for coming up with the numbers rather than just basing it off of last year.
Okay.
That's probably the quickest answer.
That's all good work. I guess I was also curious, like, is there any, like, more things that are outside of what we'd be looking at as far as the revenue stream or trying to check, like, the budget of a vendor? Are there any major things envisioned as far as, like, changing a certain capital budget for various categories or changing a certain operating budget for various categories? And the reason I ask is we're trying to schedule that meeting, and I feel like it'd be most productive if there are a lot of changes that fall in that latter category to have advance notice. At least there's some time to discuss it, so we don't have to like chew it all in one sitting. Whereas if it's all this is really kind of perfecting things and getting a more accurate read, or as accurate read as possible on, you know, say revenue projections, then I don't know that we really need that much time, because it would be, you know, confirming all the good work that's being done. So that's kind of what leads to my question. Because I think that advance notice of material, I think, kind of hinges a lot to me on that.
I think you know, as far as the capital budget goes, you know, there's a lot of input we would value from you and from Hans, and from Phil. Actually, you know, all the council members. There's Arboretum in there, other the Penn Place maintenance as well. I don't know that there's a lot of difference on expenditures. I know Andrea is actually looking at whether or not we can make some change in the structure, a little tweaking of the structure, management account structure of the budget, primarily on the expenditures, the operating budget expenditure page. And as far as revenue goes, yeah, we've got a few things that are in play here, and that's what's taking time. And as Andrea said, we haven't had documentation, and there hasn't been any, you know, any written guidance on how to do it, or even what to be thinking about. So that's in terms of property assessments, income projections, all that. So we're working with lots of people, the state as well as the county. We're trying to get 10-year data points, so we can, when we present to you, you'll at least, like Andrea said, you'll have some background, some insight about why we're projecting a certain revenue amount versus just you know, inflating something from last year, which we're trying not to just do that.
Yeah, you're trying to improve that.
So we want to be able to, we're still waiting on some data, and we'll, you know, be able to put out some graphical, some visual for you guys to be able to see that. And I've created a model on the local tax rate versus the constant yield rate, which I look forward to talking to you all about if you don't know about that. And then, of course, we've got the reductions that the county is anticipating at the state level and at the county level, based on the wind case, which fortunately we've got some of that money already put in reserve, because we have to pay that back, as well as from the Jobs Act, we're anticipating, you know, some reduction in the income revenue and capital gains. We may not see as much of that, but of course the county's going to, I just talked to the economist the other day who reiterated even one more time of another reduction at the county level revenue because of projecting lower capital gains. So they keep reducing their FY20 budget. And I want us all to be very aware of those kind of things and how that may impact our needs.
Is there anything the council can do? I guess I was sending some information about my thoughts on more the expenditure side. Does it help if all of us continue to send that as far as making that meeting more efficient?
Because that definitely impacts the part of the discussion we're eager to have with you all about the local tax rate. So we get a sense more of our expenditures, we get to see what we want to do with the revenue stream.
With regard to the wind case, do we think we have got enough money, or do we need to, or is that something you guys are looking at?
I can't answer that yet. Yeah, I don't know yet.
Yeah, see, they
The wind case? The wind case reimbursement, do we need to stuff some more money into the,
Right, the reason we're not absolutely certain of the number, Bill, is, the county had put out a schedule to all the local municipalities for, their projected reduction that the county would, that each municipality would be, they'd be losing in their
Right.
revenue. And that was supposed to start in May of this year. They're not doing that. They're pushing it back to now, and that's also up for question. Some municipalities think they're gonna start paying in 2020 fiscal year, and I've also been told, and the county is doing 2021. That's when they're starting. So there's a little confusion on that, and going to the number, if we're pushing it back, there's still accrued interest. So we don't know the actual number yet. We had it, we have it in the reserve, as you'll see,
it's the last
in
page.
Andrea's financial, yeah, but I don't know if that number is still good. So to answer your question, we're trying to,
But at least we'll know what the base number is, right? Before the interest accrual, we would know what the,
yeah, but this is what this includes,
right.
This includes all that interest, that time. It's, since it was passed in 2014 or 2015.
Is this town required to reimburse anyone that was in the town that applied to that case, or is it going to a pool that's for people statewide?
Statewide.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, it had to do with businesses, it had to do with interstate commerce and residents of Maryland that were doing business outside of the state of Maryland, and the state was taxing them for it, and it was reasoned that it was anti-commerce, interstate commerce, so the ruling was to have, to pay them back, to reimburse them over a period of time, and this start date to pay back, and that's, state's doing that, but what that does is it reduces our revenue,
Oh, okay. So it's not like we're literally paying back, we're just getting less revenue?
No, we're just
Okay.
anticipating, we all have to give back some, because this was all part of the income share that we got as revenue.
But we're not literally giving it back, we're just losing that
We're
revenue.
losing it. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
not giving, so it's a reduction in revenue. Okay, you wanna finish it?
No, I was just thinking about how, I was just trying to remember what it was, but I just got a letter, was it yesterday, from the state that was actually updating different revenue loss projection. So, I mean, the information is sort of constantly in flux too, that we're receiving.
Is it related to small cell towers? No, I'm just kidding.
It's another look.
Unrelated question, what is the Yandle Park Reserve? Not sure if I'm familiar with that.
It's a piece of property that is deeded to the town.
The Kenilworth one?
Sorry?
Is it on Kenilworth?
Yes.
It's at the
Yeah,
end of
okay.
And it's,
Okay.
and
It's kitty corner across from where Kaki's house is.
And it's, the title will revert to the town when she passes on.
Yeah, it's a
And-
trust.
And we've been putting money aside for the demolition of the house, and we probably have enough money set aside for that. So that's what that is. It's in the process, in the meantime, it's just sitting there.
Somebody's living there.
What was it?
And she is still alive. She
She's
hasn't passed
still
away.
alive,
She's in a nursing home.
town, she lets people use the house.
Yeah. And what it's supposed to become is a nature park.
Yeah, I heard about the nature park coming, I just didn't realize it was that was what it was called, so.
She's committed to open space.
I think it's one of only two that are in the land, I think it's one of only two that are in the land trust. I think it's that one and down the end of this block.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, are we,
Great, thank you.
okay, she's just gonna
Okay,
finish.
great. So I'm just
I have
asking if we
nothing
move on.
different other than what's written in the monthly manager's report, that the financials are on track, that you all adopted tonight the mid-year adjustment, so there's changes that are made there that will be reflected in that next month's report. There was one new town building permit, and I have the number listed in the report, and that was issued February 28th for a screened porch and a deck on 11301 Road. The other last item office, and residents are invited to attend and observe.
Although it'll be crowded.
Standing room only.
Okay.
Okay. If no one has anything else, we're going to
Sure.
adjourn.
No, this was
Okay.
theirs.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just hold it
Adjourned.
for our future discussion.
Yeah.